Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Y'all were in my tunnel and this is the first time I've been out here since the video where we covered everything because the Arctic blast was coming. So that's been about a week and a half. I have not been out here except today. So it's been about a week and a half. Nothing has been watered. I came out here to check on everything. We did have the Arctic blast. And that lasted for about 3 days, I would say 72 hours. And then since then, the temperatures have been semi-mild. I would say the high has ranged anywhere from 45 to 55, and the low, I would say between 25 and 30 degrees, somewhere along in there. So definitely, if it survived the Arctic blast, it should have survived the temperatures after that. And so I came down here earlier to just kind of uncover most things, just to take a peek. And y'all, things are looking great. Before we jump into today's topic, let me stop and thank the sponsor of this video, which is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a trusted partner when it comes, and it makes getting therapy easier. So if you're in a stage in your life where you need someone to talk to, or you want to introduce yourself to therapy, I cannot recommend BetterHelp enough. Click the link in the description box. This will be the very first link, and you can get 10% off of your first month. BetterHelp makes therapy easy. All you have to do is click that link, and then it's going to invite you to fill out a questionnaire that's very simple, but it's going to ask you your interests, what type of therapy you're looking for, what type of therapist would be a good fit for you, and as little as 72 hours, BetterHelp will match you with a therapist that will be a great fit for you. And then you can talk to that therapist in many different ways, by video, by text, by phone call. There are so many different ways to get you the therapy that you need. I know that this time of the year can be difficult for a lot of people, especially if you've suffered loss through the year, and this is going to be the first time during the holiday season that you're going to be without your loved ones. Or maybe you're going through a transition and ending a chapter and beginning a new chapter in your life. Whatever the situation is, I want you to know that therapy can be easy. It does not have to be difficult. Click the link in my description box below and give BetterHelp a try. You will not regret it. And again, you'll get 10% off of your first month. Now, let's watch the rest of this vlog. I still have quite a few things that I need to harvest. And so we're going to do that on this video. And then I'm going to show you how things are looking. I was surprised. I do still have some lettuce. I was not planning on having any lettuce left over because lettuce is usually only good to 20 degrees. It got as low as 15, but I did have some lettuce that actually survived. So look at that. You still see green behind me. You still see green behind me. So if you're brand new to my channel, welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Barbara. I live in Tennessee, which is in Zone 7B. And on this channel, we talk about gardening, homesteading, and all the things. In the fall and winter, we do a little less gardening content and more in the kitchen content, just because, y'all, it's cold outside. It's cold outside, and the garden is on autopilot. Like, we have put in the systems, we have done the things, and the garden is doing its thing, independent of us being out here every day like we are in the summer garden. So one of the things that I want to talk about before we even start harvesting, because I've gotten this question quite a bit over the last few weeks, and the question has been like, do you still fertilize in the wintertime? What are you watering in the wintertime? And like all of that stuff. So I want to talk about taking care of your winter crops, if you do have some winter crops for the winter garden, and how I approach that. So if you're new here, we are in my high tunnel. This is 30 by 96. I have 6 raised beds, and then I have 5 in-ground rows that we grow in-ground. And those rows are about 45 feet long each, right? And so we have in-ground and raised beds. And for the fall and winter, this is the only space where we are gardening, versus in the summertime, we garden in 3 spaces. But in the fall and winter, we primarily use this space right here because, quite frankly, we can do all that we need to do in this space, and it's covered for protection and things like that. But when it comes to fertilization for the fall and winter garden, so as you know, in the summertime, I fertilize every single week. And so with the fall and winter garden, I do fertilize usually every couple of weeks. So let me back up. When I transition my beds from summer to fall, meaning I take all of the summer crops out and then I put my fall crops in. Before I put my fall crops in, I amend my soil. That just simply means I give it more nutrients, because usually your nutrients are only going to last, I would say, a good 3 to 6 months. And so I do that twice a year, before I plant my summer garden and then before I plant my fall garden. So before I planted any of these fall crops, I amended each and every space. I added compost, I added alfalfa meal, I added was another worm castings, and there was one more thing for nitrogen. So I did that to all of my spaces so that it would have new nutrients. So all of the soil got amended. I put the fall crops in, and then I fertilized, I would say every week or every 2 weeks on average. I did that from September all the way up to, I would say, mid-November. And then since then, I have not fertilized anymore. For me, that's when the temperatures start to change, is like mid-November, and we had our first frost, like I think the second week of November. And so after that, I have not fertilized anymore, and I won't fertilize probably anymore until like the springtime. And so the reason why that is because, again, it's the fall and winter, and again, I amended the soil pretty heavily, and I fertilized up until the time that it got cold. This is it's not a dormant phase, the stuff is still growing, but you don't want to fertilize and do a lot when the temperatures are so cold because they can't really receive it, right? Also, when it comes to watering, I'm now watering like once a week. So we do have drip irrigation, but we have turned all of our drip off. It has been off probably since October, late October. When the temperature started to drop, we turned off all drip irrigation because we don't want the drip on. One, we don't want it to freeze, nor do we want it coming on because the temperatures are fluctuating. One day is 25, the next day is 55. And also the moisture needs are much different in the fall and winter because you don't have the beaming down sun. So me watering once a week is plenty. And a lot of the spaces are mulched. Some of them are not mulched just because I ain't had time. Well, let me take it back. I haven't done it. Let me put it that way, because I have had obviously more time than I do in the summer. But some places are mulched, some are not. But the moisture needs are much different in the fall and winter than they are in the spring and summer. So overall, I fertilize them until the temperatures drop. And so I'm heavily fertilizing, September, October, first part of November. And then I'm watering like once a week. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I have good results. I don't usually have any issues whatsoever. So let me take you around. Let's get some baskets. Let's harvest. I do see some lettuce that needs to be pulled up that just quite didn't make it. That's fine. So we'll clean up a few things and we'll harvest what we can. And I'll show you how things are looking. Literally, y'all, at the end of December, we still have food and the garden is still thriving. You can see here, I have some lettuce that didn't quite make it. So we're going to clear, again, some of this out and make room for anything new. This one I'll leave because it still has, I'll separate this one. It still has quite a bit of green. Oh, okay. We'll clear all of this out and compost it. But you can see I have some arugula growing there. And then I still have some lettuce over there that's looking still quite nice. This lettuce still looks really, really good, which is great. So no issues there. Now I have some broccoli over here that can be harvested. I need my hori. I cannot seem to find it. It has gotten legs. While I'm here, I'm gonna get the rest of this lettuce too. There's some lettuce in here that's gone bad. And then also, I'm jumping around, but I'm gonna take off the lower leaves of this Brussels sprout. When you take off the lower leaves, it's gonna direct the energy to form the Brussels and not the leaves anymore, which is great. And all of that I will compost. Let's see. I'm gonna take this out. See if I can get this broccoli. And really the whole broccoli stalk can come out because it's not really, it's not gonna do anything else, right? But some shoots, and the shoots are not usually enough to do anything. Now, can you use these broccoli leaves? You can. You can cook them like a green. I'm not going to. I'm just gonna compost them, but you can cook them like a green. So this broccoli head is not that big, but it's more than what we had. So I'll just do it like that. And like I said, all this can be compost. What I'm harvesting right now is my first succession of broccoli. So this broccoli, we started seeds the last week of July, and we transplanted it out at the end of August, first part of September, if I remember correctly. And so now it's December and we're harvesting. So this, I think, is Green Magic broccoli, is the variety. And broccoli for me usually takes a good 90 days and plus. I've never really gotten broccoli in less than 90 days, even though the package may say that. So if I put this in the ground and let's just say the first week of September, yeah, it's been in the ground 90 days plus, and that's usually what happens for me when it comes to broccoli. And part of the reason could be that, you know, in the wintertime things grow slower just because you don't have as high of temperatures and it's a lot cooler. And I think I just found for me that not to expect it under 90 days, but I harvest what I can and we end up with 3 big heads of broccoli. Next, we got a ton of radishes that are ready. These are the watermelon radishes. I've never done these before. They're bigger than I thought. When I looked it up, this is the size they're supposed to be. And when you cut them open, they're like this pretty pink color, like a watermelon almost, except it's more pink than red. But we're trying those. They've grown fairly well, which is good. And radishes you can store just like carrots. You tip and tail them, and they're a root crop, and you can store them and they'll last in your crisper for a long time as well. Some of them are white, some of them are red. Okay, so far we've harvested a couple of broccoli heads and I would say probably 6 or 7 radishes. We're taking some of this broccoli out because it has been eaten by some rodent. Has to be, I don't know, probably, I don't know what it could be. A mouse maybe, because it has some droppings on it and it's brown. I have not been the best broccoli grower. Last year was probably the best broccoli harvest that I got, but I would say Before that, it's hit or miss, and I can tell that this year is looking like it's hit or miss. And broccoli's that fine balance. I'm always like, oh, let me let it get bigger, and then I've waited too long, and then it gets eaten or brown or molded or something like that, and that's kind of the spot I'm in today. Now, when we were out here to cover everything for the Arctic blast, they were much smaller and not ready. Now today, the two that I did do, they look ready, but they don't look as fresh as they did a week and a half ago. Now the heads are tightly together, which is kind of what you want. Let me just show you. We have 3 broccoli heads. This one actually doesn't look that bad. Okay, so that's actually a good one. So that's not for demonstration of what I just talked about. That actually looks pretty good. This is one, again, that we harvested. I don't know if you can see, it has like just a little bit of hint of brown, like right there. Like it was almost starting to get ready to go bad. And all of that, like right in that spot right there. But I think it should still be okay. But on the leaves, we saw some rat germs. So I'll make sure that I wash this like really, really thoroughly. And we'll go ahead and probably eat this week. I don't even think I'm going to try to freeze it. Like, it looks good. But again, I feel like if I had not gotten it today or this week, that it probably was going to be on its way to being bad. Now, my husband just pulled out 3 broccoli plants that were all messed up. So we're not going to get anything from that. I have 2 or 3 left in the raised bed that are small. We'll see if they get bigger and develop. So we got all the broccoli that we can get, and we got all the radishes. I did check a couple of the carrots. The carrots are not ready yet. They are percolating quite nicely, but they're not ready as of yet. I'm surprised my calendula is still out here doing well. We have plenty of collard greens that we could harvest, and also plenty of kale. What else? I also saw some bok choy that we can harvest as well. So we'll get the bok choy next. Okay, we were able to harvest some bok choy. I think we have 2 more of those. So we have a total of like 4. Quite big. You can see here. Yeah, so bok choy, radishes, broccoli. A good harvest haul for today. Y'all, get that right there. I was telling my husband that when I came out here earlier to uncover the stuff was around 1 something. That is when I should have done this, because now it is like 4 something. The temperature has dropped tremendously. So it is cool out here, i.e. almost cold. So I'm done. I'm done. We still have kale and collards to harvest. I gave everything a good water. It's not going to be below freezing at all tonight. The lowest is going to get is 38. And that's not going to be until midnight. So I still have plenty of time. You don't want to water when it's less than 40 degrees or when it's about to be 40 degrees or less. So we still are good there. And the highs this week are supposed to be like high 50s, low 60s. Not a lot of sunshine, but the temperature won't be low at all for the next 6 or 7 days. So that'll be good. We'll leave everything uncovered. And then we'll watch the forecast for the next set of 7 days, and then we'll, act accordingly. So we also have some spinach out here that can be harvested. The spinach overall is looking good, but y'all, we still have quite a bit of green. Like I said, I did see some pest damage out here, like more droppings than I saw damage, like leaves and stuff like that. So there's no telling what that is. And again, I don't stress about it too much in the winter. Now, winter is not necessarily foolproof where you absolutely have no pests. You just have less pest pressure than you do in the summer. And like I said, out of all of this stuff that's out here, you can see like we have still so much green. I would say it's less than 1% of where I saw damage. So I'm not even giving that any. It ain't even getting no airtime. No airtime whatsoever, because it's not that big of a deal. The fruit trees are still looking good, except one of my elderberries. We covered it up, and we probably left it covered too long because it's like starting to turn yellow. But I'm not concerned. It probably bounce back once the weather warms back up. Eucalyptus is she's still like this. So everything is looking quite nice. Cannot complain whatsoever. And then we have a huge amount for the compost pile, which is great. In the wintertime, of course, the compost process slows down. I don't do a diligent job of trying to make sure that it's watered and all that. Like we just trying to survive in the cold winter. We come out here to do what we can do. Honey, turn the water off too, please. We come out here to do what we need to do and keep it moving. So where you saw me take up like all of the broccoli, we now have some empty spaces. I'm debating on whether or not, if I'm going to do a third succession of crops, we've already done 2 successions of crops already. So, and I have more broccoli on the second stage that's not ready yet. So we still have more broccoli to come. But if I'm going to do a third succession, it's going to be the first week of January. And then after that, I'm pretty much done with the fall, winter type crops. And if I do a third succession, I will only probably do broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, lettuce. I'm probably going to do definitely more carrots. So where I have this open space right here where we took up all of the radishes, I'll probably just replace that with carrots so that we can have more carrots. I'm on my last 2 bags of carrots from the spring season that we harvested back in January, February. Y'all, if you don't know, carrots will store 9 to 12 months. I have a whole video about how I store carrots for literally, y'all, almost up to a year. They're still sweet. They're still crispy. They're not limpy. They're not any of those things. And again, I grow enough of one crop to last me until I can grow it again. So I'm down to 2 bags of carrots, which will be just fine. These carrots will be ready probably in the next 30 days or so. We'll sow some more and then harvest those probably around March or April. And then we'll be good on carrots until we can sow carrots again, which will be in September. So y'all, succession planting, being intentional about what you're planting, the varieties, and timing, all of that matters when it comes to the fall and winter. So many times the garden can be hustle, bustle, especially in the summertime. But one of the things, if you put the systems in place up front, if you're intentional about the things that you grow, then you're able to reap the benefits later on without nearly as much work. That's to me what the fall and winter garden symbolizes, is that I've put the work in and now I get to reap the benefits. Literally, y'all, every single week I have food to harvest. I'm cutting it short today just because it's getting cold, but I still have, I saw 1 cabbage that we can probably harvest, and we got more cabbages on the way. But we have plenty of collard greens and plenty of kale that I will be out here to harvest later on. And then when it comes to herbs, I have sage, I have rosemary, I have cilantro, and I have parsley, and I have chives that I can harvest. We're harvesting food every week of the year, 52 weeks out of the year. It is possible. You can do it. So thank you guys so much for just hanging out with me today in the garden as we checked on things from the Arctic blast. All things look great. Everything is still green, and we only lost a few lettuces, but y'all, we still have plenty of lettuce out here that is still doing quite well. So I'm excited about that. Y'all, remember, this is all a journey. If you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that you can be a part of this community. Remember, it's a journey. Let's do it together. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye for now, friend.